Everybody, and welcome to this announcement for week 6. We're really close to the end now. We only have a couple weeks to go. So this week, as you know, you have a test. Your final unit test is due on Monday by 11:59. It's covering chapters 9 through 13. And as I said before, the good news is it's similar to the first test that you took. So you kind of know how to prepare for it, and it's open, same thing as before, open text, open notes, and you can use your financial calculator. You can also use Excel if you have been doing the homework in there, which you're going to have problems that are similar to the homework problems that you did. So, as well as you will recall some of those multiple choice questions about concepts in the text as well. All right, so that's due on this coming Monday, and then this week we're going to cover chapter 16, which you want to get those assignments done by Wednesday, and chapter 17 you want to get those assignments done by next Sunday. And then I'm going to just kind of give you a heads up on what's coming up between now and the end of class. Next week we'll cover chapter 19. And I want you to start connecting with your group mates for our very short-term assignment that requires you to interact with other members of the class. I'm going to give you a lot more details on that in an upcoming announcement, but what I have done is opened up those documents so you can read them over now if you care to. You don't have to. It's not certainly not a requirement. You're going to start working on that project, which is going to be this final week, as you see. You're going to be doing that with some group members, and it's a simple write-up. When simple meaning it's not all that long or anything like that. It's just it asks you to consider some things based on a documentary that you're going to watch. And again, I'm going to give you a lot more details on that as we this week even. I'll start giving you some more information about it. It's not a very difficult thing to do. You don't have to work a whole lot together as a group, but you do have to consider each other's point of view. You don't have to meet physically together. You don't even have to meet virtually together if you don't want. You do have to communicate well, though. So I want you to connect with your group mates as soon as you possibly can. And those groups will be you'll see those this coming week. Okay, so that's what's happening with this week. Let's take a look at the text and what you're going to cover. Now, these final chapters that you're going to read are kind of bringing together a lot of the things that you've been learning all along through the class. So you're going to find that you'll be borrowing or using some of the more foundational things that you've done earlier in class. So in chapter 16, you're going to be taking on the topic of long-term debt and lease financing. And there's some very specific types of scenarios and considerations that you really need to learn about. But having said that, these are not going to be covered on the test. I just want to make sure we're real clear on that. So you want to be able to, at the end of chapter 16, explain why analyzing long-term debt requires consideration of the collateral pledge and the method of repayment. Those terms are ultimately very important. You're going to want to be able to explain the importance of bond yields in bond analysis and how bond ratings are determined. You're going to be, like I said, you're going to be borrowing. That was something you're working on in previous chapters. You're going to determine whether to call in or reissue debt, refund the obligation basically, when interest rates decline. And there's scenarios that you need to look at, and which will help you consider what's the right thing to do when interest rates decline and what effect that has on your debt. And then you're ultimately going to identify the similarities between long-term obligations and debt, long-term lease obligations and debt. And then you're also going to recall when a firm fails to meet its financial obligations, it may be subject to bankruptcy. And that does happen, and there's good reasons why we have bankruptcy laws. But it's not something you want to do on a regular basis, obviously. So that's chapter 16. Let's go ahead and look at chapter 17. In chapter 17, we're going to talk about preferred and common stock financing. This is otherwise known as equity financing, and you have to think about, and obviously a lot of firms, certainly corporations, issue stock of varying levels. What was the last time I looked? I think Amazon has at least 6 of them going at this point, levels of stock, just as an example. So, So after reading chapter 17, we're going to consider some of the specifics about, and you want to be able to recognize that common stockholders are the owners of the corporation and therefore have a claim to undistributed income, the right to elect the board of directors, and other privileges. Just a side note to that, and kind of an interesting thing. I remember back in the 90s and 2000s, people would buy a share of Apple stock. Because shareholders, our meetings were where the big show came out, and they were talking about all the different new products they're coming out with, things like that. And for the people who are truly Apple aficionados, that was worth the price of admission to buy a share of stock, so they could actually go to the meeting, or virtually, if that was the case. So there's a lot of different things that are associated with becoming a shareholder. That's a direct shareholder, by the way. You might own Apple stock, for example, through a mutual fund, but that doesn't make you an actual shareholder of Apple stock. It makes your mutual fund the shareholder, okay? So just to put that in some perspective. You want to be able to conclude that cumulative voting provides minority stockholders with potential for some representation on the board of directors. That's an important, having to do with governance of corporations and how those things are set up. This is actually a pretty important topic, for lots and lots of reasons. Recall that a rights offering gives current stockholders the first option to purchase new shares, fairly standard terms. Be able to explain why poison pills and other similar provisions make it difficult for outsiders to take over a corporation against management's wishes. So if your company is publicly traded, and all of the equity or most of the equity is in play in the public exchanges, somebody can make a run at it and buy up shares and offer to buy shares to get to the point where they have a fairly significant number, and that's otherwise known as a takeover. And when they do that, they then have representation on the board of directors and then can influence how the company is being run. So, not surprisingly, management and current boards put in different, just call them landmines, if you will. The term that is used is called poison pills. Make it really hard for people to do that. Not impossible, but still just much more difficult. The higher the fence you build, I guess the less attractive it looks to those that are interested in making a takeover of the company. And then finally, you want to be able to describe how preferred stock compares to debt and common stock, sort of a hybridish thing, that you'll learn about. Okay, so that's common in preferred stock financing and kind of the how it's used and what is associated with it. Very common. Obviously, many of you might even own shares of stock, so you know a little bit about it. But this gives you an idea from the company perspective why they would choose it as a method of financing their firm. Okay, so that's what we're doing for the next week. Again, I'll get the Enron information out there, the Enron project information out there. I don't want anybody to panic about this. My instructions are going to be very, very clear about this. You're going to get this thing, and you only have like a week to get it put together. So here's the bottom line. If somebody is not, one of your group members is not participating, you just move on. Just move on. You guys have better things to do. And so for everybody, somebody, if not more than one of you, take the initiative to get the group put together. And then make it real clear is once you've made those things set up, you have to go along with the program. For if you're one of those people who are a little bit slow to respond, chances are good they're going to move on without you. So this is when you want to get on right away and don't manage it your way. You got to manage it how your group wants to manage it. So, but you get more details on that in this coming week. If you have any questions about what's going on, let me know. Be happy to answer them. Good luck on the test, and if you have any questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, best of luck this week, and we'll be with you. Again, we're right at the end here, so okay. All right, take care.